we arrived to the last week, and this task of this week seems to just be calling the action that we create in the week 2. If you go to the comments, you'll see that there are many ways of doing this. I try to go for the one that seems more standard. And yeah, so let's start. I'm first going to start the application. And going for the application, we can also have the metadata in here in case we need it. And yeah, we have things here, and now we are going to implement the handler for here. So the first thing that we can do is to come here where they provide us with everything we need to start. So we can just copy the dialog fragment. We can add it here, I guess. So let's call it add questions. Let's not fragments. It's fragments of fragment. Okay, let's paste it here, and now dialog add question, and the title is going to be questions count dialog. Questions count dialog. And now we need to open it, so we also have this code they provide us. Let's just copy and paste. Okay, and in here it's our ID, so we grab this, and then it's extension add questions and add questions. Okay, we should see if it works now. Perfect. Okay, now in here let's just create the rest of the fields, the rest. So we want the buttons, and we want 2 buttons. So first we're going to have close. That is going to be the type reject. And let's copy and paste. So the second one is submit, and this is the type of accept. And now we're going to have a simple form. And I'm going to show you why I decided to go for the simple form. We're going to have a label. Label. And an input. We can generate IDs for this. Right. Okay, so we don't have errors. And you can see here the input, the label, the close and submit. If you notice, the label is going to be the title. So, but if we come here to the context binding, no, not this, the audit operations, and you come here below, you're going to see the part of the actions. I'm not sure if I'm the right place. Yeah, here. And we're going to do this. So basically, you can imagine that we are in this part of the entity. So now for us to access the add questions action, this one, the aside questions to test. If you come here, you notice that you have the ID that we already have. It's the page we are, and then we just need this part. So let's copy this and put it here on the binding. And we need to add like this because that's how they show it on the documentation. So the 3 dots and the binding here, and also the part of the namespace. That's how they show us. So we basically are already in the entity test, so we don't need this part, but we need the rest. You can see that the namespace is in here. So we have everything for this to work. And now on the label, we can put now text the title of the property, because we now are in this part of the data. So we can only access title, or at least I didn't found a way of accessing title inside of this binding. So basically here I'm just going to put number of questions, and in here is that I'm going to bind to the property that we have. So we can copy this part. So it's a parameter, and our parameter, we could come to here and see that not here to here, no, same place, and that our is here, or we could come to the file tests and we have our property here, or our parameter, and so we put it here and we can refresh now. And if you see, if I try to type letters, it's going to say that we can't. Okay, something is wrong. So first of all, the title is appearing, so you can just put here this to identify. And something is wrong in here because it's saying it's raw, but should be an integer. So the part that is wrong, it's here because we didn't put in brackets. And as you can see, now it complains because it can only be numbers without decimals. So now it's okay. And now we're going to make it happen. So let's create two parse here. So to handle it, we need to get require parts, and in here you're going to say that our variable handler is going to get the functions. Let's copy this for here to here. So we're going to get our JSON file, JSON, no, our JavaScript file. So add questions. So this one needs this. Okay. So this one is the JavaScript, and when we refer to here, it's the fragments XML. So now we can create a close button. So handler on close, copy paste, and on submit. And we can create two functions. So to see if it works, we're going to just get the dialog from the ID. That is dialog add questions. I'm going to close it and test to see if it's okay, and it seems it is. So we can do the submit. I you have the solution of Thomas here that shows how he did it, and I did something similar. We could also come to the contest binding API that basically shows all the different methods that you could use. Like I said, you could do this in different ways. For example, Thomas did everything in the controller. I have the majority of the code in here because of the binding and the parameter. So yeah, keep that in mind and should check the other answers. So submit, and I'm going to try to explain what I'm going to do. So first I'm going to get the form binding. So first I'm going to get the form, and the form ID is this one. And then I'm going to get the object binding. This part here, I actually just got it from here on the top, if I'm not mistaken. Yeah, basically they have this here, and then I'm going to execute actually. So form binding execute. And if you come to the API and go for the execute, you see that it returns a promise. So that's how you're going to handle it. Yeah, so then first part, we're going to pass a function, and this function is if it's successful. We're going to bind this, and the second function is in case it gives an error. So we in the week 2 made it give an error, or I did it after the video. So it's here. I instead of sending a string, I'm sending an error, so it's going to enter in here. And the way that I'm going to do it is just say message box error and show the error. You can put a debugger or a breakpoint. That's what I meant. Debugger that will have make a breakpoint automatically for you to see what you have available in here. And I'm just going to change this to message box since we are not using the message toast. And in here, I'm going to show the message that comes from the backend. So that way of getting is to get the bound context, or basically it's the response. We can put a breakpoint after. And we show the message, then I'm going just to close the dialog, and then I'm going to refresh the binding. Get binding context and refresh, so we automatically have it appear. So if everything is working, let me put a breakpoint. So in here, first we're going to go to the error. So let's put 0. That should give an error. So we can come here to the network and you see the batch. And let me see if I can put this bigger. So basically in here, you can see that message come at least the question count. So you can come here and see that it automatically get the ID that, or the tests entity ID that we have, and then it calls the action. So that's the binding part that I've put on the XML. So now we're going to have the breakpoint here and insert 2. And if you grab this form binding at bound context get object, you can see that the information from the backend is here. So that's just what we are getting to show. And we continue. And as you see, it automatically refreshed because of this. And yeah, basically that's it. Automatically close the dialog. Like I said, there are different ways of showing this. I seen someone in the comments saying that we could have had this just by the CDS. So probably there is even a more standard way of doing this, but I guess this was just a way of us learning how to do it and how to touch in different things. And yeah.